Okay, here's another trade. This is on February 2nd, 2026. The first candle, it's a put. And I'm going to go ahead and let's lock here, all charts. And actually, if I were to pull up the market charts here, I would not see support. We are in the Super Six. This is the second of the month, and also within the earnings catalyst window. It's just a week or so ago. So those are catalysts, and that's what we're looking for, a catalyst here. It is important to be aware of the what the markets are doing at all times. And so if you look at the Russell, for instance, a move down from here is possible. And then you have downward movement here on this daily. So I don't know. I'm literally trying to talk myself into it, but that's something to kind of be aware of. This was a trade that I did not remove, that I didn't see as I was going through it, but it was a significant move. So if I look at the weekly color of the candle, a red seems very reasonable here. Magnetic pull back down, having just tested it and pulling back down. That's reasonable. 3-day, we have the top Bollinger Band. That's one. And then from the daily, we have top Bollinger Band. We have the stock RSI right here. Not perfectly, but call it anyway. A trigger fired right here. So there's some support here. Even if you don't count that, that's 3. On the 233, you have the Christmas cross, you have the MACD. A little bit late on the stock RSI and not quite on the directional movement. And if you look at the 144, it's moving down, but it's nothing is really lined up. So I think these are part of the reasons why this was a challenging. I didn't really see this, but it's definitely a reasonable trade. As far as concerns, you have the rising 13 right below. The slope may be lessening. It changed trajectory from here to here, and it is crossing over the 377 right there. Of note, these other moving average lines, if it does make it through the 13, these are pretty flat. Actually, they're flat or maybe even declining, and this is flat, this is flat, this is flat. So, basically until you get to kind of here-ish, where there's a lot of support, 657-ish, whatever, somewhere around this point, 655. So other than the 233, to 233 is 13, there is some serious room to move lower and some flatness. I mean, this is a pretty significant move. That's over 50 points. So that's enough to capture some earnings. So as far as the amount of time to purchase, I probably would do a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. But let's go ahead and make sure. Okay, so 1, 2. Can continue after this. 3, 4. Okay, so it went from 709 to 670, so almost 40 points in 2 days and 4 candles, 4 233-minute candles. And if you count out the exit criteria at this point, really you don't really have any actually on the 233. You don't even have a down auto wave line formed yet. You have one here on the daily, and that's it. On the 233 or on the 3-day, you have this rising 89. So you have a couple, and you also have continuation and no auto wave lines formed. So you can continue. Go for another candle, not much. So pause there. Not unexpected to have some kind of a pause. and then some more sideways there. Now, but at this point, you're well within. I never talked about actually what my strike price would have been looking at this, and there's some calculations and things to do that. But I think actually what I wrote in my write-up was, well, I didn't because I saw this move afterwards, but even the 695 or a 700. So if you were to go right here, you're in the money, and so a little bit of sideways would be acceptable. You still have over a week of time on the option, or 2 weeks, over 1 week or over 2 weeks. Go one more candle, and we're down to 655. If you start looking at exit criteria, there's still not a down auto wave line on either the 233 or the daily or the 3-day, but you're under a bunch of just under here, so magnetic pull back up. You're right on the 144, and this is cocked. You do have continuation there, but that's kind of where we are. You have this bottom wick is on this on these support lines, and continuation. So not a lot of exit criteria, but this is what we talked about right here around 650, 655 actually is what I was talking about earlier on in this video. And so you don't set targets, but that's a very reasonable exit, and that is actually where I would exit this trade. Yeah, that'd be the right place to exit. And not just in retrospect, I think looking at, is this a reasonable place to exit? I think the answer is certainly yes. So that is that trade. I guess I'll just go back one more time and I'll just kind of run through it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. You had a little bit of sideways at somewhat of a pullback, and then boom, right there. That's the exit. And even if you didn't get the exit right there, somewhere along this bottom wick or somewhere along this candle, it's a good exit and a good trade.